All right, welcome to Marketing Operators. This is episode 17. We've got a bunch of animals, so anytime anything different happens, it's like a logistical nightmare.
Old McDonald got a farm over there.
Today, we're talking about
Sweepstakes.
The sweepstakes.
Sweepstakes. I don't think anybody's doing a best-in-class sweepstakes experience in e-commerce right now.
That's insane.
Ridge has ran 4 sweepstakes. We've given away $500,000 worth of really awesome cars. Connor Rowlane and the Hex team are working on their own for this year.
A visit to every amusement park in the world. What? Who wants that?
I was in upstate New York, following the trend of making it to the East Coast without hanging out with Cody.
First he goes to New York and doesn't call me, and then he shatters my dreams, tells me I can't win a sweepstakes.
Tells Cody he can't win a gold-plated Cybertruck. That's such a bummer.
He's like, that's legally binding. If I get 1,000,000 points, I should be able to get that. Cody has a great test of the week at the end. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Motion, Richpanel, Prescient, and Haus.
So all of us use Motion every single day, every single week, and we love it. And I would get a lot of questions about how we use it to help simplify our creative strategy, organize all of the tests and learnings that we're doing, and ultimately help us make better ads. And so today I actually want to share, I think this is perfect timing. We just wrapped up our Memorial Day sale. So I actually want to share some of the reports that we're looking at to help, make better ads, understand our ads, figure out what we can do to iterate on these winners, and then actually prepare for Black Friday. So let's get into it. So there's a few different types of reports you can create. One that I really love is called the comparative analysis feature. You can essentially take any variables that you have, if you have it in your naming conventions, and you can break it down to see how things compared. And so the number one thing that we look at for any promo every week, but also on a monthly period that I have sent to me, is how did our videos versus statics perform? And so you can see here, we spent a lot more on video. We actually used to spend a lot more on statics during promos. For whatever reason, that flipped. Pretty similar ROAS, but obviously videos did a lot better. So that's one that we're going to look at just to get a quick pulse on how we're doing. Then we're going to look at by concept. So we launch all of our tests by concepts. And so, we may have a bunch of ads in each one. But the cool thing about this, we may have this concept, this PCC unboxing in 8 different campaigns, and it's very hard to go in Facebook and try to find all of them. Motion makes it super easy, aggregates everything right here, and we can see that was our top spender. One thing I love about it, you can also ingest and bring in your North Beam attribution. So we can see how much we spent on that concept, what were the ADA metrics, what was the Facebook ROAS, the North Beam ROAS for pretty much everything. And we can see which of our concepts got the most spend, best ROAS, and see how we want to do. And so that's comparative analysis. The other thing we'll look at is just top ads. And so again, if you have one ad in multiple campaigns, this will aggregate it all into one concept based on just whatever ads have the same naming convention. Every week, I get a report sent to me. We do a comparative analysis that's saying, hey, of all the products, here's how much you spent on each one of all the products we have in our ad account and what's our ROAS. And then secondly, here's our top 7 ads. And I just want to see, did anything new make it into the mix? Is anything fatiguing? So these are reports we look at all the time for evergreen stuff, but also for promo periods. So that's Motion. I absolutely love it. And if you want to try it out too, like all of us here in the pod, go to motionapp.com. And if you tell them that you're coming from the Marketing Operators podcast, you'll get 50% off your first month.
All right, guys. So I'll give you the backstory. I'm not in my typical location. These like very fancy little lamps are not typically my style, but I got booted up to my wife's office today. So just giving you guys a heads up on the environment that I'm in here.
So if you're
What's
up
going
there,
on downstairs?
where's your wife? Yeah. Why'd your wife kick you out of your office?
We've got someone working downstairs. So we've got the 3 dogs, 2 cats, and her in the bedroom. And then I got relocated to upstairs. So it's like we've got a bunch of animals. So anytime anything different happens, it's like a logistical nightmare. We're moving them around. Sometimes we have to separate the dogs. So right now we're in a pretty good spot.
Wait, so what's the animal stack at the McDonald household?
the animal stack. We have 2 French bulldogs, Wadsworth and Pigwidgeon. We have
what names? What amazing
Those are
names.
all time.
I was not expecting that.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah. Pigwidgeon is a Harry Potter reference, or if you're not familiar, we call him Pig for short. We have a mini dachshund named Spoon. We've got a cat, Rosie, and then another cat named Bijou. So that's the full stack.
Old McDonald got a farm over there.
Yeah. Literally. It was a big
That's
reason
awesome.
we moved to Utah was for more space, which is
awesome.
working out.
That's awesome.
That's so good.
Yeah. So
No
the other
chickens?
thing that
No cows?
no chickens, no cows yet. No, we don't have we have a backyard, but it's not suited for any like farm stock.
Right.
But I'll keep you guys posted. You never know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, one other thing I wanted to tell you guys about now that we're catching up. So I was in upstate New York, following the trend of making it to the East Coast without hanging out with Cody.
It's all good.
Um, but no, dude, I went to a wedding. This is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I went to a wedding, my cousin's wedding, and the groom, not my cousin, the man my cousin's marrying, the night before the wedding, essentially breaks his collarbone and dislocates his shoulder. It's kind of a freak accident. Everybody's freaking out. He's totally fine. He wasn't like at risk, but they were like, oh my God, they had like a sling. There was like a small reception the night before that he had a sling on. He had a bunch of Oxycontin, like just toughing it out. The day of the wedding, the guy goes no sling, and no Oxycontin, just some ibuprofen, and handles the whole day. There's like 150 people there. He's shaking hands, he's giving hugs, he's on the dance floor. I have never been so impressed by an individual than this guy, just powering through his wedding day.
Wow.
He's like a war hero, in my opinion.
He must have been in
What-
so much pain the next day.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
he must have been in so much pain the day of.
Day of, dude, unreal.
That's
But like, I was a
insane.
total champ. See, I mean, the wedding was beautiful. I think he had a wonderful time. Everybody was super happy. So like, couldn't have gone any better. And I was so impressed by the whole thing. A legendary performance from this guy.
Wow. That is impressive. What can you share what he did to dislocate and break his shoulder?
Yeah, he's diabetic, so he had low blood sugar and had a seizure. So his muscles like
goodness.
spasmed and broke his collarbone.
Holy crap.
So yeah, really, really wild, but led to like, you know, for every it's so over, there's a we're so back, and that's what the wedding was. Just powered through.
Yeah, that is a we're so back. And that's an all-time we're so back.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anyway, that was what I had for you guys. Big update from over the weekend. I'm thinking about it. So today we're talking about sweepstakes. I've got a couple years of running sweepstakes. We're just about to launch our fourth. Connor Rolane and Hexclad, you guys are cooking something up from what I've been told.
We are.
So we're just going to run through, answer some questions. I also talk about it all the time. Everybody's curious. We give away, well, I'll get into it, but we give away these big trucks every year, $100,000 prizes, big cash prizes. Everybody's always curious, like the mechanics of it. So we're going to go deep on that, talk about my multi-year experience, your guys' kind of lessons learned or approaches so far. And then Cody, if you've got any comments or questions, like you could jump in whenever.
For sure. I'm excited to hear about it. Excited to learn.
Yeah, cool. Well, sweet. So I'll talk about like one of the things, what led us to launching the sweepstakes at all was, as marketers, we're always trying to like create moments. So when I started at Ridge, and I've talked about this before, but really the only like real commercial moment was Q4. We had like really big Novembers and Decembers, but like Father's Day was just a blip. And then there was nothing in Q1, nothing in Q3. And one of the ways that we've scaled over time is figuring out how to unlock these periods. So like Father's Day has become almost as big as the previous year's November. We launched an anniversary sale in 2020. It was the pandemic was when we first launched our anniversary sale in Q1. That's become a bit of a commercial moment where we can go on promo for a couple weeks and, you know, capture a lot of the intent that we've generated over the previous months. And the sweepstakes has become that for Q3. And what's nice about it is it gives an incentive to purchase for people that might need that, while also not being a promotional moment. So we do anniversary sale, Father's Day sale, holiday sale. Q3, this August and September period for us, ends up being like this highly incentivized period without it being too promotional. So let me actually stop there. Do you guys face that same issue? And like, what have some of the approaches been in terms of like unlocking moments throughout the year?
That's exactly. I mean, first off, Ridge was our main inspo for doing this, and we wanted to come up with something that followed this exact same guidelines that you just mentioned. It's a tentpole moment that incentivizes people to buy, but it's not discounting the product. We already have a ton of offer periods throughout the year. The last thing we need is another one, especially headed into November, which is our biggest offer period of the year, obviously. So for us, August, September, October, very slow months. And then we go into November, December, where we'll do 45 to 50% of our revenue for the entire year in those 2 months. So the other side of it was, what's something we can do to build our funnel and make it as juicy as possible? Well, giveaways, a sweepstakes is a great option for that, because part of and I'm sure we'll get into this, like how do people enter the sweepstakes? But list building is a huge part of that. You opt in and you get a certain amount of entries. So we also wanted to do something that would check that box. So yeah, for us, that's it. We don't have any more room for another offer period. So the sweepstakes is checking all those boxes without us having to do any sort of actual discount on the products, and it also allows us to kind of do some fun things in terms of merchandising products, which I'm excited about and excited to hear your approach on too.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna say. Like this bucket of like, why do we do it? There's the non-promotional aspect. There is this like, how do we create a moment in Q3? And then I'll also say it's one of our. It's more fun from like a content perspective. It's by far our most like lifestyle first campaign. So I'll get into our experience so far. So we did it. 2021 was our first year. We gave away a Jeep Gladiator, and we strung it together like bare bones campaign. I think we decided like 6 weeks before that we wanted to do sweepstakes. Sean had heard from someone at a conference who'd done it and was like, this is a great idea for us. So we gave it a shot. Jeep Gladiator. We drove out into the desert for a day, shot a bunch of content, and it went like pretty well, enough where we wanted to continue investing in it. The next 2 periods we have worked with, and we are this year as well, this automotive house in Texas, Houston, Hennessy Performance. So John Hennessy's a legendary automotive operator. Basically, they like try to break the land speed record, and they build these like monster trucks and stuff like that. So we get one of their. We did 2 Ford Broncos the last 2 years, and then they upgraded. So it's these like $140,000 cars. We've given those away. And it's this really cool story of Hennessy and Ridge, and it's got this very like adventure theme to it. The one we're doing this year, which I don't know exactly when this pod comes out. I might be front running our campaign by a couple days, but enough of the details are out there. We're giving away another Hennessy Velociraptor. So we're doing the truck, which is super rad. And then we got a Cybertruck to give away also. And we were like, all right, we'll give away, the winner will be able to choose between the 2 trucks. And then we had the opportunity a couple months ago, a very popular YouTuber named Jerry Rig Everything tweeted, and he said, hey, does anybody in Salt Lake City have a Cybertruck that I could do a project with? And I can't imagine there were that many Cybertrucks in Utah at the time, much less owned by an e-commerce company who wanted to give it away and had worked with Jerry Rig in the past. But we were like, yeah, what are you thinking? And he wanted to gold plate the whole thing. So that happened a couple months ago. There's a video about it. It was tweeted about, but this crazy 24 karat gold plated Cybertruck is what we're going to be giving away, or this tricked out Hennessy Velociraptor, or $100,000 if you don't want either trucks. So we've just come to this point where it's like this epic moment. We took him out to southern Utah. We did this off-roading in the deserts. We have this awesome content. And that's just stuff like we don't get to speak to otherwise as a largely wallet brand, right? Like we're very DR driven. We're talking about promotions. We're talking about product. This is our most like heads up content of the year. And you could see how we've like, whether that's through further partnerships or more elaborate prizes, we're like really investing in that as just from a content perspective, a lifestyle and like noteworthy standpoint. So that's where we land right now. Connor, you like, what are you guys thinking?
So first off, on that note, we're very much thinking about the post giveaway as valuable as the actual, orders and funnel building that we'll get when we're actually running the sweepstakes. We think we can make this a huge content moment, a huge brand moment, make some really interesting, engaging, long form YouTube content that can get some really good organic reach and impression. So we're very, very excited about that. Our head of content, Matt Ducker, and I have been collaborating on this idea for a while. And, we have a lot of long form YouTube content coming out that we think is going to be really, really engaging. And this is one of them. But ours is interesting because it's not a product, which has a bunch of challenges associated with it. Ours is more of an experience. So we're actually doing our sweepstakes is basically we're flying out the winner in a +1 to London, first class, putting them up in a really awesome experience to get out to London, and then giving this amazing London experience. We have a bunch of influencers that we work with that have restaurants out there. So we're going to take them to all these dinners at these wonderful restaurants. Gordon Ramsay's actually opening a restaurant in February of next year. So they're going to be able to attend the opening of Lucky Cat in London. So ours is this I think what we're working towards is to do some sort of like kitchen makeover at some point. That's probably a year or 2 out. But yeah, so ours is an experience which has a whole slew of challenges in terms of how do we depict that in our creative, right? How do we create
Right.
videos and static image concepts that clearly demonstrate what you get from this sweepstakes? So I think there's gonna be a lot of, like B-roll of restaurant Gordon Ramsay and of London, and I don't know exactly. We're actually doing a creative exploration call this week to get some concepts written out and start briefing some stuff. But that's what we're doing, which I'm really excited about. I think it's gonna be really fun and really engaging, and I think the ability to create some super fun content of the winner and their +1 in London, enjoying these experiences, talking to the camera, meeting, hopefully Gordon and some other big time chefs, I think it's gonna be really fun.
So that's what you meant when you said post sweeps, you guys are thinking of as valuable as like the actual sweeps period. It's just from like a brand building content perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I think our head of content's gonna make some amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, there's such an opportunity, I think, with cooking, like such a lifestyle. Do you guys have a name? I mean, it's got to be like some like ultimate foodie adventure abroad or something.
Yeah, it's gonna
like
be something like that. I actually just briefed in our lead content or copywriter today, so I'm expecting to see a draft of what she comes. She's super talented as well. She's our like director of copy and editorial, so she's going to send me a draft on branding, on headlines, on just lines of copy that we are going to incorporate into all of our channels. So yeah, something along the lines of like the ultimate London foodie experience or something like that. We're valuing it at $125,000, so it'll be a nice punchy headline that we can put in all of our marketing creative.
Totally. Yeah, awesome. I can make a couple points on like the legal implications, but unfortunately, Cody, you and I are not qualified to win the Hexclad, and you guys aren't qualified to win the Ridge Sweepstakes. We're too close. Can't be any relation between the winner and the brand.
What? Come on! If I go, buy,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Even if I buy $1,000 worth of Ridge wallets and rings, I'm not getting any entries.
Yeah. No, unfortunately not. We're too close, I think. Podcast co-host.
First he goes to New York and doesn't call me, and then he shatters my dreams, tells me I can't win a sweepstakes.
Tells Cody he can't win a gold-plated Cybertruck. That's such a bummer. So if you're a CMO, a head of growth, a paid media lead in today's e-commerce ecosystem, you know how hard media mix can be. You know how hard it can be to sift through all the data and make the decision of what percentage of spend you want to put into each channel. So, last click based attribution is great, but they often undervalue view channels. Incrementality holdout testing is great, but that often takes, weeks and months to get that data back. And you might take 4, 5, 6 months to have comparable data across all your channels. Enter Prescient AI. Prescient AI is AI-powered marketing mix model. So basically what Prescient does, it measures and forecasts the true daily value of your paid media campaigns with incredible accuracy. And it really gives you the confidence to scale and put your budget where you think it's best put and what's optimizing that ad spend. So basically with Prescient, you're gaining AI-powered insight into the impact of your paid media, including hard-to-measure campaigns on TikTok, YouTube, influencer, and connected TV campaigns on your e-commerce revenue, including Amazon. I cannot emphasize how important this is. It's one of my favorite parts of the tool. Prescient's super easy to install. There are no pixels, so you have just super quick access to past, present, and future data in hours, not weeks, not months, in hours. You start getting models outputted, and these are all unique to your brand. They're trained and they're back tested on your data. And what Prescient does that I have not seen other MMM tools do is that they actually give you optimizations down to the campaign. It's not just how much you should put in Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, but they're actually giving you, saying, hey, this campaign in Facebook is better than this one. You should put more budget here, which is really cool. We use it at Hexclad. It's used by other top brands like Good American, Cozy Earth, Timbuktu, Nude, and dozens more. It's one of the fastest growing e-com, tech, MMM tools in the game right now. So if you want to check them out, book a demo today at prescient-ai.io/operators. That is prescient-ai.io/operators. Prescient AI, helping brands scale spend confidently with AI-powered marketing mix models.
So, Cody, you guys don't do sweepstakes, and as far as I know, no plans to do sweepstakes. But
No,
as we
but
talk
maybe
about
after
like,
this, I'm
yeah,
learning more.
we could pitch you on it. But you guys, I mean, there's just such an opportunity for like heads up content largely. Do you guys think about that at all when
Wait, Connor,
prioritizing
can you
campaigns throughout the
define
year?
what you mean by heads up content?
Yeah, sure. That is just a made up term. I'm glad that you you asked for the
Like
definition.
just now
We
on the
say
spot?
no, not just now. We use it internally a lot, but we talk about heads down being like we're like product focused. Our products are
Mm.
like they're largely like laid out on a desk or they're in someone's hand or you're like looking down at them. And because of that, and like, 99% of the time you're using a wallet, quote unquote using, it's just in your pocket. So like we've always said there aren't a lot of like natural ways for us to go heads up. Whereas I think it might be a little bit different with cooking where it's like an activity that you're doing. You can see people cooking. When you're putting on makeup, you're putting it on your face. The Miracle Balm is like, it's naturally kind of heads up and personable. Whereas, nobody's really like, it's really unnatural to like hold up your wallet in like some sort of cool stylized way. So when we do have the opportunity to hit this more like heads up visual person first content, or in this case, it's truck content, we try to take advantage.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, like even more important than the content that you guys really unlocked, is creating your own moments. Taking a what would probably be a slower season for your brand and doing something to really give the ad account, but obviously the overall business some love and something really really exciting to talk about and do. And so we've done that this year. We had a pretty solid June. July's so, but we've got a launch later where we put a few launches that would be limited edition things, kits or some exclusive things, but we wouldn't necessarily do another time of the year. Very, seasonal, just to create another peak or at least a mini peak. And so I think those have been really successful. That's like our current approach. We don't do anything like this. We've done some stuff, like we had a kit earlier in the year and we tried to make it like a pretty big, like brand campaign, kind of tons of content, a lot of long form content, a lot of like storytelling about, one of our brand pillars is just like owning who you are, and it's called I Am Me. And it definitely helped. I don't think it quite resonated as much as we did. So we'll see how much we lean into it, but totally agree. Just like sometimes having an excuse to talk about certain things can be really beneficial.
Yeah, totally. Well, cool. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that's all why we do it, the mechanics of the sweepstakes. So to get into that a little bit, Connor mentioned this with the lead gen point, but there's really multiple ways that it happens, these entries. One, legally, someone needs to be able to enter for free. So we have all these modes of free entry: email sign up, SMS sign up. For us this year, we're going to have like, if you create your account on Shopify, you're getting a couple more points. There needs to be a mail-in function. So it's not like just digital. You could ship it to this PO box and you could get registered that way. So you have all of these free entries, and we just drive an insane amount of signups. I was just looking last year for our sweeps. We drove 250,000 email signups. I think we'll be able to. Yeah, we did the spin to win last year. Some people talked about it on Twitter because like this is, and largely like we're talking about sweepstakes, but like I generally am a proponent of like just further gamification of e-commerce. You look at the spin to win and people love like just variable outcomes, and wherever you can introduce that, I think there's benefit. You walk this weird line of it being like spammy or like, I don't know. The idea of the variable prizes like might strike people different ways. But during the sweepstakes period, like we more or less pull out the stops in terms of how can we get people engaged? How can we make it as fun as possible? And the variable rewards is a big piece of that. So you did the spin to win, drove 250,000 email signups. I don't have SMSs offhand, but it's probably half of that, a third of that, something like that. I think we'll be able to try far more this year. So it's this massive moment where you get this cool prize, $140,000 prize or $100,000 cash prize, and you get to enter for free. It's like, it's literally a no-brainer. We did a big partnership activation last year too. And that was like the main call to action was like, you can enter for free. And I was telling the team, I'm like, there's really no reason why someone shouldn't come to our site and give us their email. And that's like kind of the approach that we should take. This is a moment where we can cast as wide of a net as possible to grow brand awareness. We're going to capture a bunch of leads in turn. We'll sell a lot of product and we'll slowly, subsidize all of that awareness. But this is where we are just the most applicable to the most people. So we think about it that way. So there are all these free entries. And then for us, we incentivize dollars spent. So for every dollar you spend, you earn an additional entry. And then for certain products, so we do a custom Hennessy product with them. We have a steel-plated cyber wallet this year that we're coming out with. You'll get additional entries there. We'll also have additional entries available on our Marcus Brownlee products. So all of a sudden, we can like offer these exclusive limited edition products where you're earning bonus entries. And if you're really bought into either the Hennessy brand or the cyber wallet aesthetic, or you just want to increase your odds as much as possible, you're earning more entries. And one thing that I think is really cool, or just kind of interesting, is we actually see average order value go up during this time. So someone becomes slightly more likely to upgrade from maybe an aluminum black wallet to a titanium black wallet, or they'll opt for burnt titanium or leather at higher price points just to earn those additional 20, 30 entries. And I think that's just like super interesting behavior. So we see a lot of that, and the mechanics of it really just try to better support that. So that's like the general entry mechanics.
This is like a super tactical question, but how do you track? Is there software that tracks points for everybody?
So yeah, it's a good question. What we've done in the past, so there's a third party like legal firm that runs sweepstakes throughout the country, and they help us set up, and they do all the bonding, and then they'll like ingest all of the data. So we send over all of the Shopify data, we send over all of the PostScript, Klaviyo data. They're able to assemble all of that and choose a winner from there. So there's been some opaqueness between the consumer and the entries that they have, and that being visible to ultimately like us selecting a winner from them. But this year we're working with Revo. We're actually going to like retool their loyalty program, which is, if you think about loyalty programs and earning points, it's basically exactly what I just described. You might earn 10 points for following us on Twitter, and then you can redeem that for store credit or something. So we're retooling all of that to functionally track the entries. They won't be redeemable, so that's why it ends up not being like a loyalty program. But we're investing a lot of time and energy in making the amount of entries more visible to customers and leads, anybody with an account, because I think that'll really be like, that'll help close the gap a lot. I think it could be massive for further retention. Understanding, hey, right now I've got 150 entries and I could earn 50 more purchasing an iPhone 15 phone case could be really powerful, versus right now, like I said, there's a bit of opaqueness between them. So that's the long answer. We manually do it, and now this year we've got some software that'll help kind of close that gap between the ledger and consumers.
That's really cool. That's awesome. I'm sure it's like quite the process to do it. I think it's very cool. Like obviously one of my main questions, and I still want to ask it, is like, how do you ensure that the quality is good of all of these leads you drive through, your email list? If it's obviously there's some gamification and a giveaway, but I think it's very smart. And I know I've seen it, so I remember now. But how you guys are incentivizing purchases during that time is obviously very smart and probably is successful, I'd imagine.
Yeah, totally. I mean, ultimately, it's a big like revenue driving campaign for us. It's our biggest period of time. It's bigger than our anniversary sale. So it's, you have holiday sale, you have Father's Day, and then the sweepstakes period is after that, which is saying a lot given it's August and September. There's just like not a lot going on. There's really no like seasonal reason to be purchasing wallets. So it's been successful to that degree. In terms of the quality of the leads are a much lower quality. It's like, there are tens of thousands of people who really have no interest other than maybe winning the trucks. But overall, like net, it's super valuable. And us being able to,
the volume is so high that you can accept a much lower cost per lead or value per lead, I should say.
Right. And it's not as if we're missing the valuable leads either, right? Like we are just earning incremental leads when our opt-in rate goes from, 4 or 5% to 12 and 13% is, there's just a spectrum of quality in that like additional 7-8%. And we're just thoughtful about it. Like one adjustment we had to make last year was we just stopped sending a lot of them SMSs. It was
I was going to ask you. Yeah, that can be really expensive, especially if the quality is not good. Do you do anything to prune them? Like after time, do you have any like sunset flows or like try to get them unengaged and like scrub the list after it?
Yeah, so we do that. And we'll also think about where they signed up. Like last year we ran lead specific campaigns. I don't know how much we'll do of that this year. we had leads that we were gathering on some of our performance landing pages. And then we have leads that we got like from our homepage. And that basically is like, those are three very different types of people. If we're optimizing for leads or optimizing for conversions, or it's organic traffic that's hitting the homepage. That's basically each are getting more valuable over time. Not over time, but as you kind of move down that funnel. So the very top of funnel ones, we will just like the welcome series for their SMS is one message. We'll send them what we think are our strongest offers after that. And then post sweepstakes, we'll try to like close them out with, none of this is promotional, right? So we might hit them with a promo offer at some point and then just consider them sunset. But we think about these people who subscribe for at a very particular place. Top of funnel during sweeps is probably the lowest quality lead we're going to get all year. So we don't like just throw them into the master list and start hitting them with those sends.
What's the timing of this again? Remind me. I know you guys have a very different seasonality to your business. So if you could like remind me again, like the peaks, when you guys are strongest, and when you think about slotting this in, and how you think about that.
Yeah. So our biggest moments are the holiday and Father's Day, because we're a great gifting product. So we can like, that's basically, we also become applicable to a much larger group of people in those times. And then our Q1 moment is our anniversary sale in March, which is fine. It's like not a huge commercial success, but like is our promotional event in Q1 as it stands now. So then we slot this in Q3. It typically starts mid-August and runs through September, but we're going to do it early August through mid-September this year. Just break up Q3. So it's 6 weeks. And that's how we do it there.
And is it intentional with, obviously it's a peak. Do you think of this as like top of funnel before Q4 building at all?
I think it helps for sure. I think more than anything, like we capture the value that we don't attribute much additional value other than what we capture in this period. It's hard. I haven't spent the time to like quantify the value of 250,000 email subscribers, or, the 100,000 SMS that we got in this time, for outside of this period. But we know in this period, like we've only been doing it for a couple years. We continue to grow as the content and strategies get better. This period grows disproportionately. So last year we were up like 40% year over year. We were more efficient than in 2022. So we understand we're capturing and growing incremental value. What I've been saying internally actually is, I think there's something to crack here. I think like we have a great offer. We have great products. We're getting better. If we can really nail the mechanics and the experience, this is where I go back to like giving visibility into the number of entries that you have. I've been saying, I'm like, there's no reason this can't be like McDonald's Monopoly. Like that's my aspirations for it. Where like, I think this could be like a really cool, big campaign that just grows over time. We build equity in. Everybody knows McDonald's Monopoly happens once a year. It's like one of the larger gamified commerce experiences, I would say. So I've got really high hopes for it. But even then, it's not like, oh, let's build awareness that we're going to capture in November. It is like, let's absolutely crush this August and September time.
Yeah, you're going to notice a lot of the stuff we're doing is very similar to Ridge, because I've been asking Connor a lot of questions as we've been rolling it out. But we reached out to Revo to ask them the same thing, and their response was, oh, we're actually building this out for Ridge right now. So I think we could take that logic and build it out for you. So we're doing the same thing, because I also, Connor, think that's critical. I think you mentioned this a while back about winners not even realizing they had entered a giveaway or a sweepstakes, I think. So that's what we're really trying to make just hyperly abundantly clear on the site is, hey, we have the sweepstakes going on. Here's how you get entries. Here's how it works. And then having that post-purchase or that post-action experience of, hey, because you did A, you have X entries, and here's how you can get more entries. But one thing you just made me think of, Cody, is we're absolutely doing it at this time to build our list in our funnel headed into Q4. We are going to run it from like mid-September through the end of October. And I think what we'll probably ultimately do is take that list that we capture through all of those sweepstakes pop-ups during that period and pump it into Decile on, January 1st, and just see like what was the revenue per email or SMS that we drove during, and what was the total revenue we drove from that list during November and December, to see if it actually is a valid approach to try to drive revenue out of those people. Because I'm totally expecting the revenue per user to be lower, but I think net it could be a good play for us in terms of driving revenue in November, December.
What tool did you say you were going to use to do that? Decile?
We use Decile. Yeah, Decile is our CDP. So
Got it.
we'll use them for any sort of email capture. If we're doing a brand partnership and we want to measure how much revenue came from our brand partners' email swap that we got from them over time. For sometimes we're doing more like influencer giveaways and email captures, event email and SMS capture. We'll pump that into Decile so we can actually assign a revenue number to those emails and phone numbers and names.
Cody'd asked about, no, you had just mentioned people not knowing that they had entered. I want to talk through that a little bit, because what ends up happening is at the end of the sweeps, you aggregate all the data. The third party selects like a queue of winners, essentially. And then they're reaching out to those people individually. And I think they have like 48 hours to respond. And then if they don't respond, then they move on to the next person. So I think it was our second year, the person who truly won was reached out to and then didn't get back to the legal partner in time. So we moved on to the second queue.
That's wild.
Yeah, which is just like, dude, can you imagine falling behind in your inbox and then you realize that's what would happen to me. I'm 4 or 5 days late to every email, so there's no way I'm winning any sweepstakes. But last year, the woman who won was this 19-year-old from Detroit. Awesome. Her boyfriend had like broke his leg, and she bought him a Rich wallet as like a hope you feel better soon gift. And so she was not there to enter the sweeps at all. She did know, and I think it's like largely true, that people checking out understand there's a sweepstakes going on. And she made the point, like, I remember seeing that I could win a truck, didn't think much of it. She bought a daily driver kit for, her ailing boyfriend. And then she ended up winning. So there is this like, there's totally a type of consumer who you still have to educate that they're checking out, or it makes sense for you to do so, even though they might not be interested or like have the intention of entering the sweepstakes at all. They are like, everybody who's buying is entered in this period. You don't have to explicitly opt in. So what do the most successful brands have in common? They have great profit margins. They're lean businesses. They're actually making money. This is something the D2C industry didn't do for a really long time. And number two, they have a brand that consumers love. Now, what if I told you that you could achieve both using AI? The team at Richpanel has developed an AI that can significantly reduce your support staff while providing memorable customer service. So you can reduce costs while ensuring that consumers continue to love your brand. So here's how it works. The AI imports data from your existing help desk and uses this information to train itself. This entire process takes less than a day. Afterwards, it begins to automate numerous tasks, thereby reducing customer response times. We just switched to Richpanel at Ridge. We had been on customer. I didn't feel we had a modern stack for our customer experience team. What we're looking forward to doing is a number of things I just mentioned. We're going to reduce headcount. We're going to offer a better customer experience. We're going to make information more readily available to the consumers that are looking for it. And we think Richpanel is a great tool to do that. So the best aspect of the transition was its simplicity. We were ready to go live in 2 weeks with no data loss. Our team of 30 agents were quickly onboarded. And thanks to Richpanel's tutorial videos and user-friendly interface, it was all very seamless. If you're looking to leverage AI to save on support, payroll, and deliver a customer service experience that your customers will truly appreciate, check out richpanel.com and schedule a demo with their team.
Should we chat through because one thing I'm spending most of my time thinking about is the website build. Should we chat through what the web user experience looks like? Like what are the pages you're building / what are the additional modules or components to your website that you're adding to just make it a really clear experience on what you're getting for what you're buying, and just what you're doing. I got to stop saying what you're buying because you can get entries for non-purchasing behavior.
Yeah, totally. So last year we just wanted to better disseminate the sweepstakes content like throughout the buying experience. So we went the first 2 years where like we had the homepage takeover, we had landing pages built out, we have a ton of emails built out, but there was a scenario where you're coming straight to a PDP and you could really totally miss it. There was no information in the cart, and you're checking out and you don't know what's what or that you've entered. And that was what we began investing more in last year. So same sort of deal. The homepage takeovers, we built out a whole like sweepstakes about page, like just explaining the mechanics, explaining our history. There's this value in just like like letting everyone know that you've done it before, you have winners, you've given away trucks, just because otherwise there's a natural kind of skepticism for the whole thing. So us having more like educational materials around it has been valuable. And then it goes down to just like, how do you have some sort of common thread through all the key touch points? So like we have little modals living on the PDP that have the amount of entries that you'd earn for that product. This year we'll have stuff dynamically in the cart. We'll be using some of Revo's modals to follow that through with checkout extensions. And then after the fact, you'll see, hey, I just earned 200 entries by buying the Hennessy Daily Driver Kit. So that's where a lot of our time and energy has gone, is just like better integration throughout the broad e-com experience. And then you get to like all the different types of landing pages. And then for us, that's by funnel as well. So what does sweeps mean for travel or rings or wallets? What does that mean for top of funnel, like paid social traffic, versus something more bottom of funnel, like email or SMS? The other one is like a more dedicated retention play. Like I'd like two things to happen this year. I'd like to be able to better retain people throughout this period. And I think like having clarity around the amount of entries that someone has as leads to a natural upsell of like, you can earn more entries with this next awesome offer or these complimentary products or whatever else. So we built out, like we're redoing the account page completely. So you'll be able to see entries, and then you'll be able to take other actions like buy products to purchase more. And then the second one, same sort of idea, but just a more formal referral system. So if we can turn one customer into 1.1 customers or 1.3 customers, that would be incredible. And I think that happens with like the Revo mechanics as well, or any sort of loyalty tools. But instead of incentivizing with store credit, we're incentivizing for more entries. So that's like those are the broad strokes of it. Deeper e-com integration, the standard kind of performance stack, and then like more dedicated retention kind of assets and experiences.
Where are you dropping paid social traffic? Because we're building this we're going to build this landing, and I'm sure there's gonna be a million and one things to improve on for the next year, but we're planning to build this landing page that's going to live on our main site. We'll have like a, however we brand the sweeps, it'll live in our level 1 nav, so you can easily get to it. We'll also drop retention and paid social traffic onto it, probably, because we'll create some CTAs at, towards the bottom or sticky to go shop once you've, made it through the entire page. But we're planning to have this very holistic explainer page where every single detail of the sweepstakes is on that page. We're going to try to shoot like this awesome hero video of Gordon explaining it. We'll see if we can make that happen, but we're planning to send a lot of traffic there. And then, to your point, having some modules throughout the site that we build out. So we want to have like a in-cart progress bar that shows, hey, based on what you have in your cart, itemized by category, because we're also merchandising different dollars spent in different categories for different numbers of entries. So having it, almost itemized, like, oh, you've spent $700 in cookware, that's 700 entries. You spent $200 in knives, that's 400 entries. And then having that, I don't know if we're going to do anything at checkout, but then to your point, having that Revo flow set up where they're getting, post-purchase information sent to them via email, SMS on how many entries they've earned and what they can do to get more. But what's your landing page stack look like for paid social? Like, where are you sending people, and what's the experience on that page?
So what we've talked about is we really need to do two things. We need to educate people on what the sweepstakes does and how it works. It's not nearly as detailed as what you just described. Like, we will hit the broad strokes. It's also by funnel. So like, we would have a performance landing page that says, hey, you're earning $1 for every entry on cookware. Now shop cookware. And we would have a different one for knives in theory. And then you're earning $2 for knives, or 2 entries for every $1 spent on knives. So we'd break it out a little bit that way. Try to keep it relatively short and sweet, honestly, is like, this is what's going on. This is how it works. This is the super badass truck. We really want to like sell that and romanticize that. But then still, I always say, like, we still have to sell the product at the end of the day and the brand. I think that's easier once someone has the incentive of this really awesome truck or epic food overseas adventure. But there's still a point around, like, you still have to hit the value props. You still have to hit the lifetime warranty, the colors and styles, like the efficacy of the product. And then all of a sudden they understand, they've been educated around the sweeps. They've been qualified for the content. They could come in, they actually might want to make a $120 purchase. So that's how we've thought about it. I mean, our best performing landing pages have been like 5 reasons why millions are switching to the Ridge right now. And the first 2 reasons are about the sweeps. And then we're hitting 3 about product. And then we're dropping people onto the PDP. So it doesn't look all that different aside from this like more concerted effort to educate and sell people on the sweeps and the prize.
Got it. Yeah. I'm curious what those, product page modules look like, because we're not going to turn off our evergreen funnels right during this. We're just going to add in sweepstakes funnels. So we have a lot of, evergreen product funnels that go to a landing page that ultimately end up on a product page, or they go right to a product page. Product page still works really well for us. So we definitely need to keep that in mind and create some sort of either, probably above cart module, just quick and dirty explanation, maybe even having like an info bubble where if you hover over, like, it's the brand name of the name of the branded sweepstakes, how many entries you're getting for that product, and then maybe an info bubble, like what is the sweepstakes that you can hover over. What does that product page module look like for you guys?
Yeah, so it's like a badge. So it's got a little bit of text, 2024 sweepstakes. For every dollar you spend, you could earn this amount of entries. And then there's like a learn more CTA where like a little pop-up will show up and explain it a little bit further. What we're doing it, why we're doing it. It has a couple of those itemized things that you mentioned, like you'll get X amount for the exclusive gear, or you'll get one entry for every dollar on everything else. So it's like relatively lightweight. I think the other risk you run is like overdoing it, right? Like if you were sending a ton of traffic from the PDP to like this big explainer page for people who aren't really that interested, maybe like it could be a massive net negative. So we tried to figure out a way to do it lightweight, educational enough so that people like our winner last year could understand what was going on while she was checking out without it like completely disrupting her shopping experience.
Yeah. Well, the last thing
I feel like if you guys are going all in on this gamification thing, I think you should have a pop up like as soon as somebody adds to cart, just opens up and it's just like you'll like buy this amount more and you'll get this many tickets or stuff like that. Like if you're gonna do it, just like go all in with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like it. Like I think you're right.
The last thing I want to do on the product page module, then I was curious because there's 2 things that are kind of conflicting. If we have evergreen funnels driving someone ultimately to a product page, I want to inform that person about the sweeps, but I also don't want to have that learn more CTA take them off the page. That's their point of conversion, because that's where I think it could be a big net negative. So I was curious how you were handling at that. It sounds like some sort of pop-up module where it's like, learn more about our, insert sweepstakes name. They don't have to leave the page. They can still learn about it and they're still at point of conversion. I think that's a good balance between educating at that point of conversion and not, driving them away from the page. And now they may not have converted because you just took them off the product page.
Totally. Yeah. So we've been trying to find that balance. I mean, it is funny because like offering, like, I don't think anybody's doing a best in class sweepstakes experience in e-commerce right now, or at least, I don't know. I haven't seen it. Cause really there's like a whole unique tech stack you could build that would just be awesome. That like we're not going to invest that heavily in, not until we start like, that's why I'm like, look, if we can improve retention, if we can improve referral, like all of a sudden there is a path to this being like, what I've also been saying internally is I think we could turn this 6-week period into like a $40 million campaign, like years out from now. And there's a scenario where we could give away multiple trucks, like even more trucks, or we give away a helicopter, like a Sea-Doo next year or something. Like I love the idea of us figuring out the mechanics so that we can invest in this further. But right now we're just trying to strike the balance of how do we do this, and like, how do we identify what the pain points are, address those in a way that doesn't conflict with like all of our priorities of being a growing e-commerce brand.
Yeah.
I don't want to get like, sucked into this super gamified thing, but
it's a super out of the box thing to build out, right? There's no really one-stop shop like SaaS tool where it's like, hey, if you want to run a giveaway, come use our tool. That's actually an interesting, if this becomes something that more e-com brands take on, that's actually an interesting, productize, SaaS idea that would, handle everything from, website components to, post-purchase notifications to legal to all of it. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that when you said that. You're talking about the helicopter. You and I were talking about how Liquid Death is giving away this like, I don't know, that's got to be like $1 million jet. They're giving away a I'll try to find the URL for it right now. But Liquid Death is running a giveaway that is it's this crazy jet they're giving away, which cracked me up.
Yeah, did you see this, Cody? The Liquid
No.
Death giveaway?
No, they're giving an actual jet.
L39 Aero jet.
Is this like the Pepsi thing? Did you guys watch that documentary?
Dude, yeah, fantastic. Pepsi Where's My Jet, fantastic documentary. Have you seen it, Connor?
I have not seen that. No.
It's good. It's a good watch.
It just came out.
It's Pepsi Where Is
couple
My
years
Jet?
ago?
Where's My Jet?
Pepsi Where's My Jet. Yeah, so I'm not going to remember
What's
this
it on?
perfectly, but Netflix.
Okay.
The premise is Pepsi ran this like catalog kind of sweepstakes campaign where you could buy Pepsi products, earn entries. It wasn't entries. It was like points, and you could redeem those points for like exclusive merch and stuff. So you could win, like, if you bought enough Pepsi, you get a t-shirt or a bag or stuff like that. And I think it was through catalog. This was like the 80s or 90s or something. And they had in the commercial, they had a jet, and it said like 1 million points or whatever. And I don't even think it was in the catalog, but this guy was like, oh, that is legally binding. If I get he's like, that's legally binding. If I get 1 million points, I should be able to get that jet. And then he found out that you could just purchase the points direct, and he could buy 1 million points for like $60,000. And then he took Pepsi to court and said, hey, your commercial said 1 million points. I spent 60 grand or whatever for 1 million points, and you guys owe me the jet. And I think he wins in court, or I like such a.
I forget how it ended, but yeah.
Yeah, I forget the ending, but it's like a deep reference to that, which I think is like classic Liquid Death. They crush like a very like culturally relevant prize, and they're just so over the top all the time. I think it's perfect for them.
Their landing page is like this hero video they have in the second section of their landing page. That's kind of the inspo we're using with this Gordon hero video, to have just like holistic explainer. That's really fun. What do you think the odds are that the person who wins actually claims the jet versus like a cash?
Probably pretty low. we had so our yeah, the one way, I don't even think this would work for the jet, but our second winner was this guy who came, and he took the Bronco at the time. So the Bronco's worth about 140 grand. This was also 2022, where the Broncos were really hard to get. So not only was it hard to get, but it had been upgraded by Hennessy. So $140,000 was like maybe a little conservative. He took the Hennessy Bronco, and then and it was funny. We brought him to the office and we celebrated him. His family came. We gave him gifts, iPads, like the whole thing. We made this cool video. A week later, he was on Twitter, like reselling it, like 100K or best offer. But he was basically able to like eke out a couple more dollars by taking the prize and then reselling it. And maybe someone would be able to do that with the jet, but I don't know how you'd even I don't know where you'd put it. The logistics of that seem way harder.
So you get jet on Facebook Marketplace in a month.
Yeah. One thing I love about Liquid Deaths that we were going to implement, and I'm a little bummed that it won't feel as novel post Liquid Death, but like their whole activation, at least what I saw, was through retail. That like, it was like, hey, buy Liquid Death like at Whole Foods or whatever. And then you were basically pushed into this like SMS flow where you could like send your receipt, or you'd like somehow enter that way, which I think is a really cool way to incentivize orders in a place where you don't own the point of sale. And that seems really unique. And we're going to test that with Shields this year. So we'll have a flow. We'll have these little displays in Shields above our fixtures that are like, you could win a Cybertruck or Velociraptor. QR code pushes them to an experience where they can understand, hey, if I buy a Ridge in person today, I can get entered to win. We'll have them submit the receipt, and then we'll manually document those. But that's what we're thinking, which I think is also super cool, and potentially like the bigger play where you could increase sell-through across all your retail partners, and that would just be like a massive, massive lift on the business.
So one of the buzzwords this year is incrementality. Last year was all about attribution. This year is all about incrementality. And I think that's a great thing, because we are all trying to grow our businesses profitably. And we want to make sure that the spend that we are putting out into market is actually is working for us. So I know that we are all Haus customers, and you guys have sought out Haus this year. What led you guys to do that? We'll start with Ridge.
For us, it's all about new channels. We're in the business of reaching net new male audiences. So when we're launching across Pinterest, Twitter, Snapchat, Live Intent, etc., we use Haus to measure the total impact of those new channel experiments.
That's awesome. How about HexCloud? What are you guys looking at?
Definitely the new channels as we roll those out, but because we already had such a diversified marketing mix in terms of channels and we were already spending at pretty high levels prior to onboarding Haus, the first batch of testing is just for us to find those optimal spend levels with our existing marketing stack and then comparing those to one another to kind of see within our existing marketing stack, where should we bring spend down, where should we bring spend up, and really using that incremental ROAS, that incremental CAC number to inform how we move those budgets up and down.
I love that. Yeah. And for us, the same, we've definitely tested new channels, but we've also calibrated spend on existing channels. We've saved 6 figures a month just by not running brand search because we've ran multiple tests and it's not incremental. So I know for all of us, it's had a huge impact and we love it and we couldn't live without it at this point. And so if you want to be like us and want to add scientific rigor to your marketing stack, I recommend you go to haus.io/operators. That's haus.io/operators to get a demo today.
What does your content capture strategy look like? So giveaways over, you've selected your winner. Now you want to go create a moment, this heads up moment about this super excited person that just won a gold plated Cybertruck. What's the strategy look like? What kind of stuff are you producing? What channels does it live on? I'm very curious about all that.
Yeah, totally. And honestly, I don't think we do this particularly well. Like a lot of our focus from a content creation standpoint has been doing it pre-sweepstakes. So we just have like a badass looking sweepstakes. But the last 2 years, everybody who's accepted the truck, we've flown out to LA. We'll get the whole team out there. We'll have them come pick up the car. We're super stoked. And we'll hire a videographer and we'll do that whole thing. We'll interview them a little bit, get some details, get where they're going. The woman last year created some additional content for us. She actually came, picked up the truck in LA, drove it up to Yosemite, and then road tripped back to Michigan, which was just sounded like an absolute epic summer. And she created some content along the way. So we've got some great stuff there. It lives, you could see some of the winners' videos on our YouTube. It becomes really key, as I mentioned earlier, to highlight throughout the sweepstakes just for the integrity piece, making sure people understand that there have been winners. You have video footage of them coming, picking them up, driving them away. So we pull them all out at that point. We'll cut that B-roll into ads and flash through the winners in certain types of video formats, things like that. But yeah, that's the extent of it currently.
Do you have any advice for a brand who's doing it for their first time?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, because you're basically saying it's almost too good to be true, right? And you're leaning on the social proof of calling out previous winners to make people know this is actually true. We're actually doing this. We've never done it before, so we don't have any previous winners that we can lean on. I think having the Gordon video will, if we can produce that, we'll have a lot of trust baked into it. But yeah, brand running it for the first time. How do you get that buy-in and the trust without having the ability to lean into previous winners?
Well, I think it's really, I honestly think it's tricky to be. We had an advantage. We went 2 years. The first guy didn't take the truck and didn't want to come out to LA. So we got no content around him. So we ran it for 2 years without any winners content to lean back on. So it's not as if it's completely prohibitive, but at the same time, I think we're big enough that people believe it. Or at least we have the brand recognition. Hexclad is in that same bucket. Yeah. It's really you'll see it in the funnels of, there are a bunch of brands that only do sweepstakes, or rely heavily on sweepstakes. We really borrowed a lot of strategies from Ronin. The one that I like right now is called Forged 4x4. They also give away trucks, super badass content and really awesome DR funnels. And you can see I think they have 13 previous winners or something, and they'll list out every single one that you could watch all the reviews and stuff. And if I'm shopping from a brand, nobody's ever heard of Forged 4x4 before. So it goes a much longer way with them than maybe it does for Ridge. But in terms of establishing credibility, I think content's a big one. If you just throw up a bunch of half-assed content, I think it becomes even less likely to be believed. So it's if it's high production, if the experience is good, if it's been thoughtful, that's where if you throw Gordon in it, I think that's all you need. Nobody will ever need to have won before. But even still, anything remotely high production, I think goes a long way as well. If I were running it for the first time, I'd just try to land something that is relevant to the brand. And I think for us, this outdoor lifestyle approach, the off-road trucks is on brand enough with our audience where like they expect it from us. And I think there's a sort of natural fit there. And for certain brands, I could just see running the risk of it being kind of incongruent. But if you can find something, it also doesn't need to be too big, I don't think. If it's like really relevant and cool and interesting to your audience, like it doesn't have to be a $140,000 truck. It could just as easily be something that's $15,000, but just people think is rad.
Yeah. But the narrative has to make sense, right? Ridge
But
is
the
giving
narrative has to
away,
make sense,
yeah,
for sure.
Ridge is giving away an outdoor adventure product. Hexaclass is giving away a food experience. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense if Ridge is giving away, I don't know, a visit to every amusement park in the world. What? Who wants that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or if we gave away a big food experience,
Right.
that'd be a little odd.
You're totally. I'm looking at this Forge 4x4 page though. Yeah, I love this on desktop at least. This 2-column section they have with all their previous winners in a YouTube video with a catchy thumbnail link into each. That's really engaging.
Yeah. No, they do a really good job. There's a lot of people who have done it, frankly, and there's a lot of people, like I said, who like it's like the cornerstone piece of their brand. So a lot of cool funnels out there to check out. I think I sent them to you previously.
Yeah, I got a Google Doc right now that I'm gonna have right in front of me when I'm writing this landing page brief.
Yeah. The other thing that like some of our learning experiences from the sweepstakes, we've like one thing that's been super clear is it's hard to keep it exciting like through the entire period. And there's kind of like we've been also experimenting ways for how to keep people engaged. For us, it's been over the last couple years, 4 to 6 weeks. It always starts out strong because you get these people who are super stoked on it. And at least the first year, like there's this big lull in the middle, and then you get all the stragglers, like the delinquents who are waiting for like the countdown timer to hit under 5 days to like actually come back and purchase. So we also have built some mechanics to like try to stimulate engagement throughout this period. And really that comes down to like, you can have small bonus entry periods to like incentivize what might otherwise be lulls in the campaign. So we'll start out and kick off the campaign at the midpoint. We'll do like a 2x bonus entry period, and we're able to clear that funnel a little bit more throughout the 6-week period. And then we have a really strong last week as really it just comes down to like urgency at that point. But that's the other like super key learning that we've had and are still kind of refining as we try to figure out the best flow there.
So what is the, obviously you're messaging that in probably owned media a bunch, right? Hey, for the next 24 hours, we have like a 2x going on. Do you have any web modules? Like I'm looking right now at the Forged 4x4, and in their hero section, they have an actual countdown right in the hero section that says 2x entries, limited time, 10 hours or 10 days, 3 hours, 51 minutes and 4 seconds. So it's pretty engaging. It has some urgency baked into it. Do you do anything on the course site anywhere that builds urgency like that?
Yeah. So we'll do timers, and then that's the other benefit of having a more touch points across the site, where it's like we'll have that reflected in the little PDP badge that I mentioned and the pop-up. All of those will get switched out for 48 hours so that it can reflect that you're earning bonus entries in this period. And that's the easiest place to do it, because frankly, they are like 48 hours, and it's not as if we're going to like edit all the ads, right? Like it doesn't really make its way to the ad level. Maybe some statics for like super warm audiences, but by and large, it's like web updates that we're making and as kind of holistically as possible so that we can hit all these touch points with the most up-to-date and relevant messaging. And that's where I feel like, that's why I was joking. It's like, it's almost a completely different tech product at that point. Like all these like little, all these little touch points across PDPs, cart, checkout, post-purchase, homepage countdowns, etc., are just going live for 48 hours, and then they're getting switched back off. But we've figured out a pretty good flow. And I think those are like it can get more encompassing, but those are the highest leverage kind of changes we can make.
Yeah. Interesting. Are these just like small, like the Blitz urgency countdown timers? Are those just iterations? So you said you do it on your product page. Is that just an iteration of the call it evergreen product page module you have to inform people of the sweepstakes during that sweepstakes? Or is it a totally different module that you're adding to the product page to? Because what I'm imagining is we could have this product page module, and then maybe where we're doing a blitz period, we just add a little section right to the bottom of it that says, 2x points for the next, insert
exactly.
countdown timer. Is that what you guys do?
Dude, 100%. Yeah. Because like again, at the end of the day, like we want it to be relatively low lift. We're not spending all of our time building out all these like really nuanced components for our web experience, right? So it's like it's almost like we're building tools and then we're just leveraging those tools as much as possible to reflect all our different objectives, whether that's urgency or bonus entries or last chance or just the general education stuff. So the modal's super simple. Little badge, you get some ability to input text, a headline, a button that you can use to trigger a pop-up. And then that's like really all we're updating throughout that 4 to 6 week period.
Got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's been cool. It's been cool. I'm like I said, I'm super stoked. I'm still on the, I've still got high hopes of us becoming the next McDonald's monopoly. So you guys got
where would you say
that's basically the full rundown.
Where would you say like the lift is in terms of how much work goes into it from your team compared to like a standard product launch? If you've got like a tier product launch, how does this compare? Is this like double the effort? Is this easier? It sounds bigger to me.
It's really big. No, it's probably the equivalent of like, yeah, it's really, it's a pretty big lift. I'd say it's the equivalent of like us launching travel last year, right? So, so that's like a category launch versus a product launch. We're launching, this will be out by the time this episode airs. So we're launching, NASA wallets next week. It'll be like the 64th anniversary of one of the Apollo missions. So we're coming out with some cool NASA wallets. So that's like a typical product launch. I think we can crush those. We've been doing those like basically like every other week. We have one that gets a full like landing page build out, homepage takeover. Typically, they're ad supporting it, emails, etc. Like we can do those all day. Sweepstakes is a more like robust experience. So it's not like it doesn't get done with like some homepage tweaks and a landing page. It's like I mentioned, it's like a Revo thing and it's the PDP modals and it's the cart modals and all of this. So it's like way more expansive from a tech perspective. And then it's so long that it's like, yeah, over 6 weeks, we're going to have dozens of emails and we're going to need hundreds of ads.
Yeah, you're right. Normal product launch is not lasting 6 weeks. Yeah, that's a big thing.
And we apply it across all of our categories too. So it's like there are ring ads, there are travel ads, there are wallet ads, all like somewhat related to sweeps. So it ends up looking way more like I said, travel, like a whole new category launch, or it honestly ends up looking more like a Q4 or something like that with just like how long and expansive it is.
Godspeed.
So yeah.
Godspeed.
God, yeah. So we'll see. Like I do think we need to prove out the ability to grow significantly more from here. Like we probably are still over indexing from an effort standpoint. But if we ever want it to be a $40 million period, I think we have to do that. And we have to like try these new things and integrate new tech solutions and like continue trying to tweak the experience. Because yeah, just from a time and energy standpoint versus incremental revenue, it's probably one of our lower returns, frankly. But yeah, I think there's like a really, really high ceiling for it. And there's like brand value, which like I don't want to overlook either. Like it is a really cool, noteworthy thing, particularly this year with the 2 trucks. I think it'll be an exciting time. So I don't want to overlook that at all either. So yeah. So Cody, did we sell you on sweeps?
I'm doing it.
Going
we're
back to Bobby
up.
Today.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Doing my full makeover.
All right, sick. Anything else you guys want to cover on the sweeps front? Otherwise, I feel pretty good about that as a general overview.
Yeah, that was good. I think it'd be fun to do a check-in when you're running your sweeps and when we're running our sweeps and talk about all the shortcomings we had, at least Hexclad had, and try to build out our first one and where we can improve. It'd be fun even to do like maybe like a live site audit would be cool, because I'm sure there's going to be some things where we're going to have to be like, you know what, we have a few ideas on our improvements, but like we just got to launch it, and that'd be kind of a fun thing to do.
Totally. It's also, I tell the team, it's a 6-week period, so there's a lot of time to make improvements within it, which I think is cool. So yeah, we'll keep everyone posted. All right, so last segment, we want to hit a test of the week.
All right, I got one if you guys don't have any.
No, dude, this is a much anticipated test from you.
Let's do it. Yeah, excited to chat about it. I haven't gotten any winners soon. So yeah, as you guys know, like new channel launches are always super important. Any channel launch we do, like we're just trying not to be just meta. And I really want to find new channels that can obviously be scalable, that are, like we got TikTok going, we got Pinterest going. Twitter a little bit, but like you can only spend so much per day on those. And I really want to find the next like 10K, 20K, a day channel. So we keep testing, and one we recently tested is direct mail. We've done, I'd say, a good amount, not a ton, but a decent amount of retention stuff, and it's been really good, really incremental. We really haven't done any acquisition. So back in maybe May, I think we launched our first acquisition test, little 4-week test, not a ton of spend. We launched it with Haus, of course, just geo based. I think we did something like a 40% holdout. And results came back, and they're solid. They're pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with it from a first go round. Let me just pull it up. Really, what we're seeing is like a 3% incremental lift. So compared to where we are not running, any of this, we're seeing, at least I think this was probably first 30 days. We're seeing solid incremental lift, 3%, but it's not as efficient as we want it to be. So, I'm not quite sure what to make of it. We ran two different, essentially cards. We ran a trifold and then a postcard. The difference being that the cost is different. It's probably 20, 30% more expensive on the trifold. So, it would have to have a much better response rate to be worthwhile. We ran gift with purchase because we did run one test before, not running a holdout, and gift with purchase versus none, GWP worked. So yeah, we're seeing about a 2.6% incremental lift. I think we just didn't really spend enough on it. I also think we just have to dive into the segments and the data modeling to see. I'm not totally expecting to like scale it off the get-go, but we're keeping that post-treatment observation window open just so we can see, because we looked, and I can't share the specific cost per incremental, but it was higher than we wanted to be, even though there was like a 3% lift, and it actually came down. So we looked after a few weeks, and the cost per incremental did come down. I don't know how much you guys have done acquisition direct mail, but I would expect it to be a little bit more of a top of funnel channel, especially with it being offline and all that kind of good stuff. So we're gonna just keep that window open, keep looking. If that comes down, we'll probably run a bigger test, see if we have any learnings we can get from this. But I'm overall pretty bullish on it. It's just one of those new channels I don't have experience with. Fortunately, some of the new people we hired on our team do. So we're going to keep testing, but I'm pretty determined to crack this channel for us.
Yeah. So do you know what cost per piece was? You mentioned the trifold was more expensive than the postcard, but like, what does that look like on a per piece basis?
50 cents, I believe, don't quote me on it, but around 50 cents per postcard. That's, all in cost, and then 75 cents per trifold.
Yeah.
It's like pretty good. That's cheaper than I would have thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been a really long time. We ran back in 2020, 2021. We actually did like 20-page mailers that like were not all that much more expensive than that. I could find the rate, at least from what I remember. But we went through a weird period where like during like COVID and like the online boom, like all of the parchment manufacturers switched to like e-com packaging. So like it was so annoying because I was like, everything's getting more expensive, and they were like, yeah, the cost of paper is going up because there's just fewer people making the postcards nowadays. So we were like getting squeezed on price everywhere. If it wasn't stuck with the CPMs, it was parchment manufacturers. But yeah, 60 to 75 cents is reasonable. And then what was like the creative strategy? You said gift with purchase, like any other, like how'd you guys approach it?
I'm trying to think. Oh, this was Miracle Bomb. So it was essentially just like focus on Miracle Bomb. Obviously, we're much more limited with what we can do with, postcard. There's only so much you can kind of get across. So I feel like a lot of times those are more just like hit them with a pretty strong offer. We don't like to discount, but we obviously wanted to do some type of offer. So we went with a decent GWP. But we were able to get a trifold that had a lot more education, had much more how to use, all about the different shades, a lot more education in there. But I've got to look. I haven't actually seen the response rates of each creative yet, of each type, to see which perform better. So that's the one thing. It's kind of harder to get data. We ran one split test at a time. Just those were the two. So like I don't know if that's really our best creative approach. Yeah, it's hard. You don't get near being so used to digital. You get so much feedback on your creative and what you're testing in market, and you get such little data on direct mail compared to it.
Totally. Did you guys use vanity URLs? Are you able to like, or are you just using Haus for measurement, or is there like any other? Are you driving clicks that you can see in any way?
No, we didn't. So I've done it before. We've tried QRP for retention stuff. We tried vanity URLs. We've tried codes. And we've tried QR codes and then like discount codes. And we've seen nothing really. It's like such a small percentage of the overall traffic that we just haven't really found it to be like that beneficial to look at. Didn't really tell like a full picture. So we're going, we just going with Haus for it.
Yeah, that's interesting. We definitely saw when we did it, our source of truth, like quote unquote source of truth, we didn't really do a holdout. We like held out a part of it was a retention focus. So we held out like a percentage of those people so we could look at the incremental lift there, but we didn't do it from a prospecting standpoint. We obviously relied heavily on like the address matchback. That doesn't tell you incrementality. But what I was blown away by was kind of to your point around leaving the window open was the amount of time that we use vanity URLs. I'm sure cost per visit was just like insane. It wasn't that many people, but even seeing the time at which they'd visit was like, I remember the one in Q4 like landed early November and we saw traffic like through the rest of the month. So it was clearly like sitting around on, kitchen tables and things like that and coffee tables and people revisiting and visiting much later on. So I think leaving the window open makes a ton of sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, we've seen it come down. Yeah, that's kind of how we're thinking about it. There's probably a lot of interplay with other channels, right? It's hopefully we're reaching a new audience. That would be great. So we're just going to keep that window open, see, and then dive into the data and see like what we can do to improve. And keep testing. I just saw these like mini kind of catalog things that are not much more. I think they're like 60-something cents. So we'll probably, depending on how this goes, test like a much bigger spend for like Q4 early holiday. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted with that.
Cody, was the setup with the vendor pretty straightforward? Like you just handed them a list of inclusions or exclusions based on your holdouts, and they made sure to only send to people inside of those demos, or what did that look like?
Yeah, pretty much. They obviously, run like a match back to make sure on the list there's no overlap with your customer file. And then there's just like a bunch of different, depending on the vendor you work with, like different, data and modeling that they have access to. And that's really like the big difference between, the vendors. But yeah, for sure. I don't think people realize, I think people are so, I'm no direct mail expert by any means. People are so worried about digital privacy and getting file load and all that kind of stuff. I don't think people realize for decades how much data sharing has been going on with offline things like credit card data. Like these vendors have access to it's obviously all anonymized, but they have access to all of this credit card data. But because it's not digital, people don't necessarily know it, but that's partly why there's like a lot of value in a channel like this.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, last question I have for you is, you were talking about adding visits to Haus so you could track incremental visits. You guys still working on that? Is that set up? Or are you just, in this case, are you just looking at purchases?
Not for this. It's definitely possible. I realize it's a little bit harder than we thought. So I have one other test super quickly just because it's top of mind. We've got a board meeting this week. We first hired our first data guy, and the first thing I had him do, I wanted to know pretty much something very specific to that. How does opening a store impact online sessions and online sales? And I wanted to know from the beginning. I checked with ChatGPT myself, and before we had a warehouse and an analyst. So he did that. So long story short, we've been diving into that data, trying to get GA by session data in our warehouse, and then hopefully we can port that over to Haus soon. So we don't have it with Haus yet, so not quite yet. Hopefully soon. What we found is really interesting. We found no online sales lift. If anything, we find a slight cannibalization, of online sales in a region where we open stores. We do find about a 9% incremental session lift in those regions, but if anything, there's actually a slight cannibalization in sales. So I think, and comparing that with some like survey data, anecdotal data, I think for us, the stores are functioning much more as demand capture. People are seeing us on Meta, They're seeing YouTube, TV, and then they're actually going to site, checking it out, getting in that funnel, maybe taking quiz, building like a wish list, and then they go into the store to find their shade. So I was pretty surprised. A lot of people I've talked to have their own stores, have seen a halo in those regions. I've heard Lululemon talk about it. I've heard a bunch of other brands, but we haven't seen that so far.
Hey, so halo from a visit standpoint.
Yeah.
Just not a halo from a revenue standpoint. Yeah, which I think is cool. That's why I was curious about the visits as a whole. It's like if people are coming and visiting the store, I think that's super, or visiting the site, I think that's interesting. But yeah, obviously not what you're ultimately optimizing for.
Yeah, we don't really care. Like as long as they're buying, we don't totally care. If anything, we're pulling it, but like AOV and LTV is actually higher if they're buying in store first.
Right.
They're getting more products recommended. So yeah, we don't totally care, but I don't think right now we're just going to keep opening where we're strong. online. Maybe it slightly cannibalizes, but we know that the market is strong there. We're not going to try and open a store in a new market that we want to own online. We just haven't found a lift from that yet.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I heard a really interesting, and we wrap after this, I guess, but I was talking to a buddy, a CEO at a very big brand, and we were talking about cannibalization of stores, and they have a much bigger retail business. But one of the data points that he referenced was post-purchase surveys of their returning customers. And they just said like, hey, do you buy our product in stores? And 50% of people said yes. And what they said was that they had kind of like poo-pooed the idea of cannibalization, that like, yeah, ultimately you're not stealing that many sales from your site. Like it's probably largely incremental, but that data point was really convincing for them to say like, oh, there's clearly cannibalization. If half of our returning customers are purchasing our products in retail stores, then very clearly that's taking away some amount of revenue from the site. So anyway, yeah, I thought that was interesting and maybe a data point you guys could use at least in those like local areas around each store.
Yeah, super interesting for sure.
All right. Well, boys, episode 17 in the books. I think we're set.
Sweepstakes. Excited to see both your guys.
Awesome. Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed going deep on all things sweepstakes. Thank you again to our sponsors, Prescient, Motion, Richpanel, and Haus. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe, share with your friends, your family, your mothers, your coworkers, the whole gang. We'll see you again next week. Thank you.